All right, guys, how's it going? Welcome back to Wolf United. This is a match reaction, and hopefully one that I will see the end of and won't need to get subbed off for. How are you all doing? United have just won by 2-1. 2-1? 2-1? We should have been 2-1, really. There was a few chances where I thought we could have conceded. Anyway, United have won 2-0. Two away goals from Marcus Rashford and Bruno Fernandes. A very late penalty from Bruno made it a little bit more comfortable than it actually felt. The game was very frustrating. I thought United were not perfect by any means, and I thought we struggled for a lot of the game in terms of trying to move the ball quickly and try and create some chances. And I think the first half was very, very poor from us. Ollie looked frustrated throughout the first half, and I don't blame him. I thought when we got to the final third, we lacked a lot of ideas and we lacked that bit of creativity, and it was a bit poor. But we saw towards the end of the first half, we started to pick up, and a little bit of magic from Victor Lindelof, who I'm so glad saw that, he had space in front of him. He drove forwards. He used the space in front of him. He used what he had in front of him. He played what he had. He moved forward with it and saw Marcus Rashford's run, picked him out, which, first of all, what a fantastic ball. And then the first touch from Marcus Rashford, it was sublime. That's what he's capable of, and a fantastic finish from him at the end of it as well. And that was his 20th goal of this season as well, the first time he scored 20-plus goals back-to-back in his career. And he's also made it so that Manchester United are the first team to have two players hit 20 goals in all competitions. They are the first Premier League team to hit 20 goals in all competitions. Whether that's a good thing or whether that's a bad thing in the case of we're being carried, that's for you to decide. But second half was a little bit better. We picked up the tempo just a little bit. But again, it left a lot lacking. And at the end of it, I thought, as long as we come out of this with this 1-0 win, I'll be happy. There were a few dodgy moments. Like the referee seemed to want to book all of our players. Probably knew that there was a few of them on suspensions and thought, you know what, let's just give an extra few cards. I don't know whether that plays into his mind at all. I'm just joking. And we'll be without Scott McTominay, Harry Maguire, and I believe Luke Shaw as well. I'm not sure. I can't remember if he got booked or not. But those are the suspensions that we have. We'll have to deal with those in the second leg. But you'd like to think the job's done now with this 2-0 win, and hopefully we won't miss them too much. But it remains to be seen. Let me know in the comments what you thought of today's result then. If you're watching on Facebook or Twitter, head over to youtube.com/allforunited. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the like button as well and get involved in the chat. John says, good win tonight. Lindelof and Rashford played well. Ref was poor and he owed us a penalty, and we got one. Could have played better, but good win. Yes, there was a few fouls, especially on Rashford. Lindelof would be so much better with a quicker centre-back next to him. That's a discussion we will have later in the show, whether Lindelof deserves a little bit more respect than he gets sometimes. Fred says, we will take 2 away goals and a clean sheet every day of the week. Exactly. If you offered us that at the start of the game, absolutely. And Eamon says that second goal, absolutely crucial, definitely. And Mark says 2-1, get him off. Yeah, no, I know. It was 2-0. It was 2-0. We'll bring on our first guest then very shortly. Everyone hit the like button. Let's see how many of you are watching. There's 36 of you watching. A lot of you are on Twitter. So whoever's on Twitter, youtube.com/allforunited. That's where the party is. So the 20 of you that are watching on Twitter, head over there, join us over here on YouTube and join in the fun. Let's get Henry on then. He's my first guest. Henry, how are you doing, mate? Happy that we won, but not too happy with the manner of doing it, surely.
Yeah, it wasn't the most flawless performance. I think that's fair to say. I think a lot of people would agree with that. And, I'm sure a lot of people will be saying, that's become a bit of a theme as of late, games where we're not absolutely smacking opponents. But, we're grinding out these results. I think, those types of wins are always needed. Of course, we prefer to see us beaten, 4 or 5-0 away from home, get, a massive stack of away goals and put the game properly to bed. But, it's really not too bad, is it? 2 away goals in the end in an away leg in the quarterfinal. I think you're at a bit of a disadvantage when you play your away leg first. You don't know what you need in terms of away goals, but I think, 2 does put us in a good spot in that respect. I don't think anyone was, I think we were absolutely outstanding in many ways at all, to be honest. I think, the 2 best players I'd probably say were the 2 centre halves, Lindelof and Maguire. I'd say Lindelof, as you've already mentioned there, an excellent assist from him. We've always spoke about his ball playing ability being his strong point. It really came to the fore there. Good run from Rashford as well and a good finish. It looked in the early stages as if Rashford might be, playing with an injury again. Some worries, I think, especially, from my end, looking and thinking, is he injured? And if he is, why are we playing him? Is he going to have an impact? Then he goes and scores that, fair play to him. Obviously got the goal against Brighton in a similar fashion as well. So, and I thought Maguire was really good as well, heading away, everything as he usually does, maybe got skinned once, I think, with a little flick over his head, but, Lindelof bailed him out and, dealt with it. So I thought that partnership was really good. But yeah, I'd say, positives where you can take them, really. We've won the football match. We've got 2 away goals, and we put ourselves in a good position to qualify for the next round.
Yeah, on Rashford, we're talking about him. Obviously, he looks like he's played the majority of this season with an injury, and Ollie made a big deal of saying he wouldn't play someone with a big risk, and you know what, I trust him on that. I don't think he would do that. But even with this injury record, even with maybe his overall game not being great, he's now hit 20 goals in all competitions. Is there a case to say this is actually statistically one of his best seasons? He's 2 off last season.
I mean, numbers wise, I think you're spot on. It's extremely hard to argue. I can't sit here and defy the numbers. The numbers have been fantastic. I think that's positive for United fans. I've seen people say it on Twitter today, and it's really true. If that's Rashford playing at, half his full potential, then it's extremely exciting for us to think, we could see a much revitalised and, a rampant Rashford next season. And, I think he's definitely maturing. I think his all-round play this season has massively improved, especially in the early stages of the season. I think his playmaking has massively improved, and you can see that he's matured. And I think, if this is Rashford playing with an injury, then I think there's ups and downsides to that. Obviously you think, first of all, why is he playing? We don't know what goes on behind the scenes, whose decision that is. Whether we think that Solskjaer has got a huge affection for him, and it could be Solskjaer leading this idea to keep playing him, or it could be Rashford himself saying, Gaffer, I want to play, and the doctors obviously must be assuming he's fit to allow him to play these games. So there's ups and downsides to that, and I think I think you make a good point. The numbers have been really good for him this season, and I think the only way really is up for Rashford, especially if this isn't him playing at his full fitness.
Yeah, and another player who seems to get every game and not have a rest is Bruno. I don't think he had the best game today. First of all, what did you make of his performance? And also, let's address this comment from Ugly Bear here. Give it one more season, United fans will bang on to get rid of him. The bubble has burst. Has the bubble burst? I'm pretty sure everyone's still behind him, are they not?
No, I don't have a clue what that comment is alluding to, really. Ugly Bear there saying he was shocking as well, which I completely disagree with. As you said, I don't think it was his best game. We've seen Bruno Fernandes have a massive impact on games, to completely turn games on their heads with, driving the team forward, trying, ridiculous passes and the rest of it. I think tonight it was one of his more sort of standard, what we call a below average Bruno Fernandes performance, in which, he scored a goal, by the way. Even penalty. People don't think penalties count for whatever reason. He scored a goal. He scored a key goal, a second away goal for us. That's going to be massively important. I thought he was fine, to be honest. And I don't know what he's saying about the bubble bursting. I think Fernandes is still probably the main man at this club, in my opinion. I know people obviously have that argument between Pogba, Fernandes, whoever else. Fernandes, for me, drives the team forward on the pitch, a huge leader, if not the captain. He's still a huge leader and drives us forward. So that's all I have to say about that. I think his performance was all right, to be honest. I think it was anything outstanding, but I thought it was fine. And as I say, got us that key goal.
Yeah, and we'll touch on the other good performances. One was, of course, the centre backs you've mentioned.
Yeah.
Again, it seems to bring up that discussion with Lindelof. Now, when we signed him, it was a case of he's good on the ball. That was the big narrative around when we signed him. Are we starting to see that a little bit more? And do you think we see that against certain opponents, or is it with certain teammates? What do you think we need to do, or what do we need to see for us to be able to look at Lindelof and go, you know what, this is what we signed?
Yeah, I don't know, really. I think it's a bit of a weird one with Lindelof. I don't know what you can sort of point to. I think, I'm going to struggle to answer that question you've sort of put to me there. Is it to do with, management? Is it to do with opposition? Is it to do with the partner? I'm not too sure, really, because, as you say, we'll be signing. We were told, this is a centre-half who's, not as, a traditional centre-back, more a ball-playing centre-half. He's not going to be fantastic in the air. He's going to be more, better with the ball at his feet. And to be honest, I don't think his ball playing ability has been fantastic since he's been at United. I've got to be honest, I've been a bit disappointed overall, I think, over the past few seasons with that. You see it every now and again, these sort of splitting through balls that will play from the back. And, you think that there's that Lindelof that we've sort of signed. I think tonight, we did see an example of that. Picks out Rashford, a great run from Rashford, by the way, coming in off the left. He picks it out brilliantly. And we get a goal off it. So, I was really happy to see that. But I don't know, really. I think he's a bit of an enigma, really, Lindelof. I don't know. It's a hard one to sort of solve what his best role is. For me, I'd still go and buy a centre half to partner Harry Maguire. I think, as someone mentioned, partner Lindelof with a quicker CB. I think, we should probably look at that more so with Maguire than we should for Lindelof, because I think Maguire, I'd say, is the superior centre half. I don't know if that's a controversial claim at this point, but I'd say, Maguire should be the one we should looking to buy a partner for, really. But yeah, I don't know, weird one with Lindelof. I think he's got something to offer at the club, definitely. He's not completely terrible. I wouldn't say get him out, but I don't know. We'll have to see how he plays for the rest of the season. Obviously, Maguire now suspended for the second legs. You'd expect Lindelof to play that game as well. See how he gets on there. Who's going to partner him in that game is going to be interesting. Will Bailly be back? I'd say probably not. It'd likely be Axel and Lindelof, I'd imagine. And that'll be interesting to see how Lindelof gets on as the more senior centre back in a partnership, if you know what I mean by that. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, I thought he'd do well tonight, Lindelof. Yeah.
Well, of course we'll be able to see in that game, because more than likely he will be paired with the quicker centre back. So we'll be able to see what that is. And I think you make a good point in terms of leadership. He's going to have to be the senior man in that, especially without Luke Shaw left back. If he is suspended, if I'm right in thinking that.
Yeah, no, he is. I think. Yeah.
So without him, without Maguire, I remember Saka to his right. It's going to be a little bit different for him. That's going to be key for us to see how he does. And of course, for Axel, I want to see how he responds to recent criticism, to see how he comes back into this team and how he performs. And arguably at a lower level than he previously played at, but it's an opportunity for him. In terms of the midfield as well, we had McTominay suspended. How much are we going to miss him the next leg?
I don't know, really. Probably a bit. I didn't think he was magnificent tonight, McTominay. I thought, he broke up the play in places well. I think that was about it, really, for him. I don't think he was anything more than that. It wasn't one of those, iconic sort of masterclass box-to-box performances that we have seen Scott produce. Leeds, jumps to mind as one of those games. It wasn't exactly that, but it was a solid performance, nothing too special. You'd always miss the grit of a player like McTominay, I think, in any game. And obviously, he gives everything. I know people don't like the idea of, passion and desire, etc. Always, point to his technical quality not being as good as some people would like. But, I do think McTominay is still a very good player. You'd expect Fred, wouldn't you, I think, to step in for him in the second leg. Or, obviously Matic got some minutes today as well. We'll have to see what Ollie goes with that. I think we'll definitely miss him. But as I say, I don't think he was magnificent tonight. And I think, you'd hope that, missing Scott McTominay, wouldn't be massive in this tie. But obviously, as you say, there's other suspensions as well, and it could all come into play in the second leg. But you'd hope that Fred or whoever will step in and have enough for that second leg.
Yeah, definitely, and I think the midfield is a key area that we need to look at strengthening as well, especially the kind of player that McTominay is. I think that's what we saw. Obviously, rumours with Declan Rice earlier today in the Athletic. Is that a thing that you think could happen? The Lingard for Rice swap, and how easily would he slot into the system?
I think I've said for a long, long time now, I'd absolutely love Declan Rice. I think I've always sort of earmarked him as the man. Maybe my English sort of bias and my watching English football against other leagues comes into play there. But I've always earmarked him as the man to replace Nemanja Matic at the base of that midfield. And I think we are missing that at this point now, as we've sort of seen with the midfield. You struggle to play McTominay or Fred as the man to free up Pogba and Fernandes. And I think Declan Rice would do that absolutely fantastically. I think that's the role he plays best. He screens the back four well in front of that back four, and I think we've seen it at West Ham how he frees up to, Souček to go and make these late runs into the box and the amount of goals he's got, and that's exactly what you do at United in my eyes. Alongside Pogba and Fernandes, whether or not it's a deal that could be done, I don't know really. Swap deals are very sort of few and far between in modern football. I think the last one I remember, the big one was obviously Sanchez and Mkhitaryan, which didn't work out too well. But we'll have to see if West Ham are willing to do that. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what we do with Lingard as well. Whether we sort of, point to his good performances and play sort of hard to get in a way, and demand cough up a fee, etc. Or if it is involved with the swap, I'm not too sure. But yeah, as I say, I think Rice would be a magnificent addition to the squad, definitely.
Yeah, and I hope we do that with Lingard, because the number of times that we've been messed about with transfers, it's time we try to stick our heels in the ground a little bit more. But no, Declan Rice does make this team a lot better. I think he solves a lot of problems with regards to our ball progression problems. I think that's what we saw today. We did progress the ball very quickly, and we didn't move it about. And I think that's why we struggled so much to create chances. But that's just me. Before you go, then I'll ask you one more question with regards to this second leg. Then, what do you think we need to do? What would you say we need to do differently to get maybe a more comfortable performance and a comfortable result in the second leg?
Yeah, I don't know, really. I think what you said there, really, move the ball a bit quicker and just play with a bit more intensity. I think, that's been a common theme, as I say, throughout the season. Games where, players have coasted a little bit. I thought players like, I don't know, I think Greenwood was not involved enough tonight, really. And when he was involved, I thought he looked a bit sloppy, to be honest. I'm not really sure about him. Sorry to go negative on it now, but, I don't know how, adept he is to play in the 9 role at the minute. Maybe in the future that's something he'd do well, but I think at the minute his best role is still on that right wing. Perhaps controversial. I know people like to see him play down the middle quite a lot. His finishing ability is obviously magnificent, But I think, he's better at coming in off the right. Obviously we've seen how diverse he is, with the step overs and the left or right foot that he can obviously shoot with. So I would say that, and I don't know who plays at 9 then. If you're not going to play Greenwood at 9, to be fair, Cavani didn't look, absolutely. I didn't think he was terrible tonight, but he didn't look like his heart was massively in it, if I'm honest. But definitely, just a bit of a change round up there, really. But yeah, I think that's it, really. I don't know. It's hard what to say. Obviously we won 2-0. We could play like that again and win 2-0 again at home. I wouldn't mind that, to be honest. That puts us through, obviously. But yeah, I would say, basically what you've said. Move the ball a bit quicker and just play with that bit more intensity. Because I think we have got bags more quality than Granada have, and I think that was prevalent tonight, even with a poor performance.
Yep, fair enough, mate. Thank you for coming on the show. Everyone in the comments, go follow Henry on Twitter, and I'm sure we'll have him on again very soon. Cheers for coming, mate.
Cheers, mate. Thanks for having me.
Right, that was Henry. Soon we will have Barry coming on, but before that, I want everyone who's watching to like the video right now and subscribe if you haven't already. Let's see how many of you are watching. There's about 20 of you watching. 3 of you are on Twitter, 3 of you are on Facebook. Right now, head over to youtube.com/AllForUnited. Join the party over there. Really quickly, let's go through some of the comments then. I want to see what Ugly Bear has to say about Bruno, because I want to pick that conversation up again. Reason why no one has alluded to the poor form of Bruno is because no one is talking about it. Bruno escapes critics. I don't think he is, escaping critics. I think a lot of people like yourself will point out to the fact that he loses the ball a lot. Yes, that's a fair enough observation. However, you've got to apply context with it. I think Bruno loses the ball a lot because he's having to force play a bit more. The players around him don't move effectively. Now, when I say effectively, I mean when you're moving off the ball, it's either to create or it's to receive. So you're either receiving the ball from your teammate or you're creating space for someone else to receive it. Our play doesn't happen like that. We either move or we don't. That's just it. So I think he's having to force play a lot more, which means he is losing the ball a lot more. But we'll see what Barry has to say. Let's bring him on the show now. Barry, how are you doing? What do you think about that criticism of Bruno to start off with?
Look, Kartik, I think that you can look at it in a couple of different ways. Firstly, Bruno's performances, his all-round performances in recent games have not been as good as they were earlier in the season. I don't know if it's because of fatigue. The guy really looks tired. He's been playing in every game, but Bruno doesn't hide away, and he's always trying something, and the statistics don't lie. He's scored a lot of goals for us. He's created a lot of goals, and I'm happy with Bruno's performances this season, but I see the point that some of the viewers are making in terms of his all-round quality looked better in some of the earlier games than now. But, he's the type of guy, one moment of magic and he can change a game. Typifies, I think if you look at the last league game against Brighton, the assist that he made for Rashford, it's probably the best thing or the only decent thing he did all game, but he changed the pattern of the game. And he still has that ability to do that. And I agree with you. I don't know that those around him they're certainly not as good as he is. So sometimes the pass that he makes is not run onto by someone who should be a runner, makes him look bad. But I don't have an issue with Bruno. And for me, he's an automatic selection when fit.
Yeah, definitely, man. And I know it's fair to criticize him for giving the ball away, but to say you don't like him, I think that's a bit of a push from the comment there. Doc, nice cap, says Kagiso. It is a very nice cap.
Thank you. I'm having a bad hair day, so hence the cap.
A bad hair, that is a very rare sight from Barry. In terms of the overall performance today, I saw your tweet around halftime with regards to how boring it was. Yeah. What do you think? What do you think of the performance overall?
I'll tell you, if you're one of those fans who feel that United are above criticism, a lot of people get very upset if you criticize the team, and I think being critical is not being disloyal. And the guys for whom the glass is half full will say to you, the old cliche, if you would have been told before the game that you're going to win 2-0 away from home, you'd bite that hand off. That's an old cliche. So, yes, the result is satisfactory. We've scored 2 away goals. But in terms of entertainment value, I absolutely hated the game. There was one moment of magic for Marcus's goal. But for me, Granada played the game in terrible spirit. They dived all over the place. They were extremely physical. and the referee was utterly abysmal. I mean, he booked Pogba for the first foul of the game after 5 minutes, and Granada were allowed to foul badly for the entire game, with I think only 1 or 2 of their players being yellow carded. I thought he had a howler. But as for United's performance, it was so laboured. There was no pace in the game. There was no creativity. I didn't enjoy the game at all. I enjoyed the result, but I was certainly not entertained by the football.
In terms of that, then, why do you think the performance and the football wasn't as entertaining as, we know this team is capable of being quite entertaining. We've seen good performances. So why do you think it wasn't?
Right. So I made the comment before the game, you never know what kind of United we're going to get. Are we going to get the United that play with breathtaking pace, scoring on the break, and yes, one moment of magic to do that? Or are we going to get the laboured passing game, which is what we get? The centre-backs, I have to say, brought the ball out of defence very well tonight. They feed the ball to the midfield push the ball forward, and most of the front runners, their first touch was to pass the ball back again. So it was so laboured. The ball was moved 2/3 of the way up the field, and then play stops. It was almost like watching a Louis van Gaal performance.
Yeah, no, that was. I think that's a little bit of an extreme, but it was quite poor. And I've said it for weeks. We do not move the ball quick enough, and I think more than the player on the ball, I think it's more due to the players off the ball. The movement is terrible. We see from our number 9. I think Mason is a lot better in that aspect, but he still has things to learn. Obviously, he's only just being put into this number 9 role, so it's different. But is that where you think we need to improve a lot more in terms of off-the-ball movement, or do you think the players on the ball aren't good enough?
I think a combination of those. I think we need to improve in terms of midfield creativity. I still find that our passing game is so poor. There are so many passes that go behind the man instead of in front of the man. It's such a basic skill to have, and yet we seem to be lacking therein. And the build-up play is very slow. We are still lacking a right winger. Whilst Mason might be at his best at the moment playing off the right wing, he's not a right winger. And we certainly don't have that. And it's just all so laboured. The killer pass doesn't come. Lindelof put through a magnificent one this evening. But the midfield are not creating that type of pass. I thought Pogba, by his standards, had an extremely poor game tonight. Probably limited by the fact that he had that yellow card so early on. McTominay, for me, did nothing. I mean, his passing was terrible. Bruno was off his game. So, our entire midfield didn't perform well. And quite frankly, the front runners didn't get much of the ball. They're playing a lot of the time receiving the ball with their back to goal. So therein lies a problem. And for me, Cavani has been very disappointing in recent games and might be a contentious thing to say, but I hope we don't see him at the club next season.
I do think that's a good talking point on Cavani, because when he first came in and he had that run of games where he'd come on and he'd score or he'd make a difference in his performance, we're not seeing that anymore now. No. Do you think that's a result of his injury, or do you think maybe those stories about him not being happy and he wants to go, do you think that has something to do with it as well?
Well, if the stories are true, it may have something to do with it. I've long learned that there are very, very few journalists whom I trust with respect to posting this type of stuff. So I really am not sure with respect to that. But in all fairness to him, he hardly gets the ball. He runs around. Nobody's feeding the ball to him. There was one cross this evening from Telles that I thought maybe Cavani could have done a bit better and gotten onto the end of. But he doesn't seem to be as electric as he was, earlier on. And we're seeing a player in the twilight of his career.
Yeah, and I think you're right in the sense that he barely gets the ball. I think playing as a number 9 in our system, you need the ball because you're expected to play in either Rashford or whoever's on the right wing at that time, especially when Daniel James is on the pitch. You've got to be able to play him in. And I think that back-to-goal striker is going to be an important part of what we sign. Do you think that's more important for us to sign, or do you reckon we need a different position? Like, for example, everyone's talking about we need a number 6. I've said it as well. We need a central defensive midfielder. We need a Declan Rice. But equally important to our system is a strong back-to-goal number 9, is it not?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we've certainly, one thinks about, dare I say, Lukaku being a strong number 9 with his back to goal. Somebody with a physical presence, and we certainly don't have anybody like that. In terms of priorities, what to sign, it depends who you speak to. We need a centre back, we need a right wing, we need a defensive midfielder, we need a number 9. That's obviously my wish list for the new season. Will it get complied with? Not a chance.
And finally, with regards to tonight and what it means for the second leg, we've had loads of suspensions. You mentioned the ref wanted to keep booking all of our players for some strange reason. Who do you expect to come in now? Because we've got Maguire suspended, we've got Luke Shaw suspended.
Shaw's out, McTominay's out.
Okay, so in those three, who would you step in?
So for me, Maguire is a very, very big loss, and I know that he's got his critics. But I'm a fan of Maguire. I think he's extremely solid, and I think that he brings the ball out of defence well. He threads a good pass, so we'll miss him. I don't think Eric Bailly will be declared fit to play because he's still out of the UK. He's had COVID. He's not match fit. I don't know what the quarantine rules are now for sportsmen coming back to the UK, but I don't envisage that he'll be able to play. So I would imagine Tuanzebe will take his place. Tellers will slot in for Luke Shaw. And for me, I don't miss McTominay at all. And it's a toss-up. Will he play Matic or will he play Fred? And, Ollie, maybe for that game, he'll want to shore things up and we'll get the typical sort of Solskjaer 2 holding midfielders, which I sincerely hope we don't get. But we'll have to wait and see.
Very, very true. Barry, cheers for coming on. Everyone who's watching right now, go follow Barry. And of course, make sure to come and join us for the next show that he's on because he's absolutely brilliant. Cheers, Barry.
Thanks, Kartik. Take care, my friend.
Right, that was Barry. We'll have Mark on next, and then Abdel will be coming on very, very soon after that. So make sure to stick around. If you're still here, yes, you are. You're all here. Lovely to see. Make sure to hit the like button if you haven't already. Let's see how many of you are watching on YouTube. There's still 1 person on Twitter and 3 people on Facebook. What are you 4 doing on your own? Come to youtube.com/AllForUnited. This is where the party is. Let's have a look at some comments before I bring Mark in. Kagiso says, playing as a number 9 for us is like a graveyard shift. We need reinforcements in the middle. I half agree with you and I half don't. I think it is a graveyard shift, but that's only because you're right in a sense, because the players in the middle need to be better. I think the ball movement's not good enough to get into that number 9, but then I think the number 9s we have don't do the job that we want our number 9 to do, if that makes sense. What else do we say? Henry says, never should have sold Rom. I'll die on that hill. Oh, I don't know about that. Well, to be fair, no. If he's in the shape that he was in last season and this season, then yes, I agree. And of course, I'd love to have him, but he was not in the right shape when he was at United. And quite frankly, by the time Ollie'd come in, he'd already decided he wanted to go. So I don't blame him for leaving. So that's a different story on that. Let's bring in Mark then. I hope he's not busy drinking some kind of strange healthy drink, but we'll see. Mark, how you doing, mate? What are you drinking today? And where's your aquarium book gone?
Moved it. I moved it lower down. But no, I'm just drinking water tonight, mate. Listen, thanks for having me on. Great points by Barry and Henry. Great to see them both on.
Yep, definitely good to have them. First of all, I'll ask you then, what do you think? What do you think was so poor about today? Because everyone's saying, the performance was poor. We weren't good enough. The second half was a little better, but what do you think was the difference today?
I think it was probably because both teams had the same sort of system, really. They were sort of waiting to, get each other on the counter attack, and it just made it a little bit sort of stale. But ultimately, we used to criticise United under Mourinho and Van Gaal for being so poor, and I think that we are in our right mind to do the same with Ollie, and we need to see more. We need to see that progression, and we need to see better football. But ultimately, we've gone to Spanish opposition, not always our good hunting grounds, and we've come away with 2 away goals, so we should be happy with that. It means that we can probably, play a lesser strength side. Obviously, 3 players are out next week anyway, which I think is needed. I think that we need to, those 3 players in particular, I think Maguire, Shaw, not McTominay so much, need a rest. So I think that sort of boded well and good for us. But yeah, I think it was just Granada obviously going through a bit of poor form. They didn't really look too dangerous apart from sort of the end of this first half. And United, I just think they look very leggy still. They look incredibly tired, and we need, and this is where we need a few more players and a couple of more signings, because I think that would kind of stop that going forward, or at least help.
Yeah, and sorry, I just want to touch on this comment here from Ugly Bear, who seems to be dying on this Bruno Fernandes is terrible hill. The reason why number 9s aren't scoring is because the number 10 in Bruno isn't performing. I'll let you address that.
Yeah, I completely disagree. I do agree that Bruno hasn't been his best of late, but the whole team has been poor recently, and he's not superhuman. He will become just as fatigued and tired as everybody else. Now, you've got to remember, you hit the point on perfectly earlier, Karthik, this is why Van der Beek doesn't really fit into the system. He is more of a pass and move. You get two types of number 10s, and Bruno is a ball carrier. Now, we can sit there and criticize the negatives that happen sometimes. He gives the ball away, but that's what you expect from a number 10. You look at any other team in the world, someone like Bruno, who does carry the ball, is going to try and create something for nothing. And with that, there's going to be a lot of risk involved, and he's going to falter at times. He's going to probably be the midfielder that's going to give the ball away more. And you expect that, but time and time again, he gets us out of jail. And as I say, the whole team isn't great at the moment. And with that, it's not going to be Bruno that's going to be carrying the whole team. He's going to get us out of jail and, got us a penalty and do one or two good things here and there. But he's also going to be tired and fatigued too. So there's no, I can't agree with that. And yeah, I disagree.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just seeing some of the comments here. Stu says he has an opinion to which he's entitled to. That's 100% true.
Of course.
Yeah, we're not, we're not just disproving that. We're not trying to, knock him for saying it. We're just having a discussion, and that's that. But yeah, we do have to disagree with that one. In terms of the other players that obviously played today, what did you make of Greenwood in the 9 today? Because Ben made a big point of it in the group chat earlier in the week when he scored on the weekend against Brighton, that he's an instinctive number 9. That's the kind of instinct we miss at the minute. And I said it myself. Let's not forget. What did you think of him today? Because he had a good game, I thought, in terms of bringing others into play. But when it came to him taking chances, I thought he was a little bit off.
Yeah, you're going to get games like that. You've got to remember that he's been played out on the right, and that's not his natural position. So coming back into the fray, being asked to do a number 9 role, is going to be partially alien to him again. I thought he was okay tonight. I thought you were absolutely right. He sort of created space for a lot of other players. That's something that wasn't in his game last season. I think he's got far better at that. And strikers are going to have off days. And there were a couple of moments from him in the game that I remember where probably took too much time, too many touches. There's one time when he got into the box and probably should have hit it on his left straight away and wanted to bring it back on his right again. And, these things are going to happen. He's a young kid, and he will learn from these things. He will learn from that, and that's what it's all about, getting that experience. But I thought he was okay today. If he'd have scored a goal, I think we would be talking very differently about it. So it's just one of those things, really, and hopefully he's going to pick up and have a storming game next time. I thought Cavani, Henry mentioned about Cavani, I thought he was a bit poor, but I think that it's I've said this before, that as a striker sometimes you're only as good as the pass you receive, and I think that because our team is tired and leggy and not really creating a huge amount, he's not going to be able to feed off those scraps. There's obviously more going on behind the scenes. We won't understand what that is until it comes out. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But I think we've got a lot more to worry about at the moment.
Yeah, and in terms of our attack, I want to also touch on Marcus Rashford because I always seem to talk to you about Marcus Rashford. Another goal today, 20 goals this season now in all competitions. He's 2 away from his best ever season, which was last season. Do we need to start thinking, he's not playing well, let's be honest, and he's not also playing 100% fit. This guy's going to be scary next season, is he not?
Yeah, I think we are very much reliant upon him, probably a little bit too much. I think he's very firmly made it into one of our best and most important players. I was very shocked to see him on the starting 11 today, if I'm honest. And I think that for the first few minutes, I was very much on the edge of my seat because, it looked like he was struggling a little bit. And you'd like to think that the management, the physios, and the science side of the squad will know what they're doing. But I do worry, if we continue to sort of hammer him into the ground, it's not going to bode well. And I think that it could be a problem for us. And I really hope that doesn't happen. I think he needs some more time out. But as we've seen, and another example today, his overall game is getting much better. He seems to be making the right decisions. I thought the ball from Lindelof was absolutely wonderful, and I thought the finish was very good. He took it on brilliantly and finished it very well. And I think it goes to show he's almost at 20 goals, or at 20 goals, almost his best season. And I think that's shown just how much he's improved. And if we had a fully fit Rashford all season, I think that those numbers would be much better, and certainly someone that we need to continue to nurture and have in our team. As I say, my only worry is if we play him too much, he's going to get burnt out, and it's going to be a problem from an injury perspective going forward.
Yeah, definitely. I think a big part of that is the fact that last season he was our penalty taker until Bruno came in. This season he's not had as many opportunities.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
That's a big factor. Finally, before you go, in terms of next week, second leg, what are you expecting from the game, particularly because we're without a couple of key players, let's face it?
Well, I think we just got to hold firm. Obviously, home hasn't been our best place at the moment, and that's probably going to continue. But we've just got to, whilst we aren't scoring goals at the moment, something that Ollie and the coaches have done in one way or another is, keep clean sheets, and we seem to be better with our defensiveness, defensively against set pieces, which was good to see. And as long as we can do that, I don't see any problems. And that's what we've got to do next week. Even if we come out with a 0-0 similar to against Real Sociedad, it doesn't matter. 2 away goals are massive, and that Bruno penalty, even though it just scraped over the line, was a massive, massive thing today. And we'd probably again be having a different discussion if we didn't get that. So I think that, as I said, some of those players that aren't playing next week, I think it's a good thing. I think they need that. I think they need a bit of rest. Luke Shaw in particular. Harry Maguire in particular. So it will be a good opportunity for some other players to be able to fill those voids, and I think we should get over the line next week. Tottenham's our big one this week. We need to really focus on that, and then the game after that, after Granada next week.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that Bruno penalty might have just took us over the line in this game. It might seem like a scrappy one, but at the end of it, it might just be the goal that wins us the tie. Mark, thanks for coming on. Everyone go follow Mark. And of course, you'll see him on here very, very soon. See you in a bit, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Right, that was Mark. I'll get Abdel on very, very soon. But before that, everyone who's watching this video, like the video immediately because it costs absolutely nothing. I've seen a comment on Donny van der Beek and the tactics, so who better to ask than Abdel himself? Let's bring him on. Abdel, I'm seeing comments here that says Donny van der Beek possibly doesn't suit our tactics, current tactics anyway, and possibly needs a pre-season so we can adjust. I just want to hear your thoughts on that first. You're muted at the minute.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So, yeah, on that comment, I fully agree because we're not a possession-based team yet. We cannot control the midfield for 90 minutes. So upon that foundation, you can't have a player like Van de Beek. You've seen from the Brighton game, you've seen from previous games when Van de Beek plays, Van de Beek's intelligence is all off ball movement. So I make space for you, you take advantage of that space. You know what I mean? I make
Yeah.
space for you and another player, and that player moves into it. Or I provide I show myself for you. So drag someone out, show myself for the ball, you give it to me, and you run into the space that I left you, and I'll give it to you back. We don't do that stuff. We're not yet at that level of intelligence. Let's just say that. Like, I'm not calling us dumb, but as a team, but I'm just saying that we don't have that yet. We're very direct. We're trying to be progressive, um, very quickly. But Donny van de Beek is not that. Donny van de Beek is all about the slow possession game, finding openings, probing, pure possession. And as such, that's why he looks lost when he gets on the field with us, because it's like, hey, I'm not used to this. I don't play this game. What am I supposed to do, kind of thing. Uh, so yeah, but I'm not worried about him. I think he will find his feet. He's a very strong character from what I've seen of him. Like, I've been following him ever since they had that run in the semifinals. I even followed them after that. So no, he's a very strong-willed guy and very intelligent. So he will know how to adapt and how to play in this team if he gets his chances. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I think a big thing with Donny van de Beek as well is because he makes a lot of these runs and he picks up a lot of positions that he doesn't get the pass. I think that's a big part of it. I mean,
Yeah.
the number of times I'll see Van de Beek make a run and we'll just go the other way and play a simple pass. I think that's where he shines, and we're not letting him do that. And I think a big part of what you said, that the style of play that we have at the minute, that it doesn't suit him. I think that's right. Adding to that, then, today we saw an issue with ball progression.
Yeah.
Do you think that if Donny van de Beek is to play in this team, a new number 6 would suit him more? Is that an opinion that you have?
Yeah, I mean, it's still not. It's not bad. He
Hmm.
will be able to play it as he has a dominant number 6 beside him. Ajax have tried it before. Whenever one of their double pivots gets injured, Donny van de Beek, they will take him out of the 10. They put him in one of the double pivots, and they will put Ziyech or another creator in the 10. And he did okay, but Ajax lost a lot of stability from removing someone who's just good at progression and defensive qualities, and adding Van de Beek, who's is instinctively wants to go forward, and that's all he thinks about. You
Hmm.
know, Donny Van de Beek just wants to be around the box. That's all his game. That's all his thinking.
Oh
You
no,
know,
I mean in terms of not playing with a number 6 and a double pivot, but as one of 2 8s, so a free roaming 8 almost.
and even if it was in a double pivot, the idea of the double pivot, I mean, unless you're playing a Jose Mourinho type of style football where you don't want the ball, you
Hmm.
just want to keep it closing all the angles, and once you give me the ball, I'll just break quickly, and if I don't break quickly and it's not successful, I go back to my shell, you know. In that sense, the double pivot, okay, that's very defensive. But in the sense of, let's say, the way we want to play right now, or let's say Bayern used a double pivot.
Yeah.
Goretzka goes so far ahead. It's
Yeah.
just one of them that stays at the back. So that's what I'm talking about. My talking about it in the sense is Donny van de Beek would be doing that role, the
Hmm.
guy who runs late, into the space that he finds and just needs someone to give him a cutback or someone to lay the ball up for him, and he will shoot. You know what I mean? So he can
Yeah.
do that role, but he will just leave you a little bit defensively unstable. But if you have a dominant 6, then it shouldn't be a problem.
100%. Obviously, I don't want this to turn into a Donny van de Beek discussion, but we'll go into today's performance then. Why do you think that we had those problems with the ball progression? Because we saw that it was very slow, and we didn't really have enough urgency. What do you put that down to today?
I think it's down to how Granada played and us having an extra player on the pitch that just doesn't do much, which is Scott McTominay. I love the
Mhm.
guy. I love him, but It's just sometimes in these type of games where United want to control the game and the other team just wants to frustrate you. They don't want to really control the game. They don't want to be on the ball all the time. You know, Scott becomes an extra man. Really, he doesn't do much. So all they had to do was frustrate Pogba. Using one or two players that they had on him at the time. I just forgot their names. And yeah, Kennedy and Mongolo. That's his
Yeah,
names. Yeah, they were interchanging because they used the 4-5-1, right? So their two forwards, they tucked in a little bit. I mean, you could also say it's like a 1-2-3-4 in if you're going from forward to the back. And those two that tucked in, which supposedly they're wingers, they were wherever Pogba goes. So if Pogba interchange was caught in a double pivot or Pogba stayed on the Aruma Basaga's side, they would not give him any time. So if you have your ball progressors already like having a hard time, progressing the ball, you just usually look for someone else to do that. And because they were only allowing us the wide areas, so through our fullbacks, the only progressor after that is Shaw, really, not Scott, not Aaron Wan-Bissaka. And you saw Bruno Fernandes again started to shift or to drop a little bit deeper, just to, hey, I'll find, I'll try to get on the ball myself because I'm not getting it. But to be fair to us, we did progress it. There were balls coming from Pogba that were nice. There were balls that coming from Bruno Fernandes, even from our center backs. Our center backs, like, you have no idea how creative these two guys are becoming just because of our lack of progression in the middle. So yeah, they're doing a phenomenal job, and I feel vindicated defending them at the beginning of the season. So yeah, like it's today it was part what Granada was doing off the ball because they were very solid centrally, and us not having too many progressors, or at least a world-class progressor like Pogba and a fairly good one, or in the middle one. It's just that we have very stark contrast, like Pogba, world-class kind of thing in progression, and then McTominay, who's not no sorry, I can't do that. You know what I mean? Give me the ball, I'll find someone easy and just pass it back to Maguire.
Yeah, so in that sense then, because we're going to miss McTominay in the second leg, do you actually think that'll make us perform better against Granada? Or who would you bring in instead?
If you bring in Fred, it will be good in the sense of progression because Fred is the type of. Wait.
If I was to quote, and you know what, I'm going to quote that and tweet it right now. But the amount of comments you will get from that, I'm just going to tweet it right now, and we'll see the interactions. But go on, I know what you mean. Now I do agree, but go on.
Yeah, but that's the thing though. Fred, as faulty as he is, he's a quantity guy. It's like having two players on the field, so he will try that bad pass 100 times and he will get you 5 of them. The problem is Scott McTominay will not try anything at all, so it's like not having anybody on the field, you know what I mean? So like Fred, when I was looking at his profile and all of his statistics, he has double of everything just because of the amount of actions he makes.
Yeah.
He is that type of player. So his mistakes are doubled, his successful actions are doubled, he's just that active. So if you have him, you will have a lot more progression than having Scott McTominay, but also you will have more mistakes, that's for sure. So it's kind of like it's a trade-off between risk and reward, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
With Fred. The perfect guy, the perfect foil would be Matic, but can you rely on Matic seeing how Granada played today? Because they were very aggressive and very active.
It's going to be an interesting one. Finally, what kind of game are you expecting from this second leg then? Because obviously, as I said before, we're missing some important players. We're going to have to defend. Two away goals is fairly comfortable if you think about it, but it's not job done. What kind of game are you expecting?
I think we'll see a game of trying to hold on to what we have, not an expensive let's go get more goals type of game, because unfortunately we're at a time in the season where we have limping off attackers, like, and this brings me a point about Greenwood, and as much of a talent as Greenwood is, I think the fan base are starting to put a lot more responsibility on him very early. Like they want him so bad to become the 9 that he's just not ready to become a 9 yet. You know, he's not in the he's just not a natural striker in the sense of build, in the sense of every clever movement a striker has to make. These things still he has to learn a bit of it. Like 23s and 18s are very different than professional. So like we need to ease it off on Greenwood and not just throw him in the middle and just expect him to be the 9 that we want him to be. So we have that 19-year-old. We have a half-fit Rashford, who is fair to him. He's impactful, but his overall performances are costing us because the attacks dies with him. A lot of the attacks die with him.
Yeah.
And yes, he will get that one chance and get us the goal, and I love him for that because I mean sometimes he just saves that with one attack. But at the same time, if you look at the whole performance is overall, you'll see that a lot of the attacks die with Rashford, and it's you know, it's not making a lot of the attacks fluid. And James, who I also feel like we need to play him more because our structure is more solid with him, and I don't mean just defensively, I mean shape wise, I mean you know, width wise, I mean even us going forward in our shape, we look better. So with James, so yeah, like I said, 19-year-old Rashford, half it, James, and Cavani, who, by the way, this just hit me today. Cavani hasn't trained with this team for long. He came in at the end of October, no preseason, no training sessions because we had game after game after game, and he got injured 3 times.
Yeah.
So Cavani really, and he looks frustrated because I was like, how do I play with these guys? I'm not used to them, kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
He is not used to this. He is definitely. He hasn't trained. Like he's probably just sitting in meetings and oh, Cavani, we need you to do this. Yeah, sure. But then he goes out on the field and it's not how he's expecting it to happen, you know. So
that's a very fair point. It's a fair point.
So we have a wishy-washy attack, and like I mean, I want us to keep the 2-0. Honestly, if we get a 0-0, I'll be very happy. I just want us to progress. At this point, I want the 1-0 every game as long as we win.
So what you're saying is we're going to be Europa League champion of the world.
I hope so. I'm not saying anything.
One of these videos I'll get you. One of these videos I'll get you, but we'll see. Cheers for coming on. Everyone go follow Abdel. Go make sure you check out his tactical thread. He'll put another one up, I'm sure. So make sure to check that out. Yeah. We'll see you soon, mate. Nice one. Right, that was Abdel. We're going to have Callum on, the man who follows me everywhere I go. That's who Callum is. I can see him smiling away, raising his eyebrow in the backstage. Before I bring him on, everyone like the video. How many of you are watching? There's 15 of you. There's one person on Facebook. One person out of 16 people. One of you is watching on Facebook. What are you doing? YouTube.com/AllForUnited. Come over here, you absolute lunatic. Right, let's get Callum on, the absolute stalker. How you doing, mate?
How's it going?
Are you happy with that? Because obviously we're all happy with the result, but performance wasn't great, was it?
No, really, it wasn't a good performance, to be honest. It really wasn't a memorable night, to be honest. But I'm not one of these to be cynical. When am I ever pessimistic? I'm just happy we got the win. I think don't quite think the game's put to bed. I think a goal at Old Trafford will probably do that, but it'd have been nice to have just got that one more. I just felt like the game could have been there for the taking. It just felt a bit slow and lethargic at times and a little bit reactionary. It'd just been nice to have grabbed the game a bit more by the scruff of the neck, but 2-0's good enough. I think that penalty probably did just seal it. I don't think I know the referee was very trigger happy with his cards tonight, especially for United, but I think, you know, Fred will come in for McTominay, Tellez will come in for sure. And if Bailly's testing negative for his COVID, him or Twanzebe will come in for Maguire. I'm sort of seeing those yellow cards as positives, if anything, to give those players a bit more of a rest. Because I think the Europa League's pretty much there for the take, and I think really we're favourites, and rightly so. And there's no reason why we shouldn't win it. It's just a shame we couldn't put this game this tie to bed in the first leg, really.
Yeah, I was hoping we'd put it to bed by half time. You know, I wanted us to get out the blocks really quickly.
Yeah, I agree.
score 3 or 4, and then bring on maybe Ahmad and Elanga on towards the end and give them a run out. And I think Ollie would have done that if we were 3-0 up or something like that. In the second leg, then, you mentioned how the tie's not completely done. Do you think that, yes, we needed some players rested. We needed Maguire for sure to get a rest, so the suspension helps him a little bit. But do you think that team will be good enough to see it out? Because we know this team is capable of, fucking it up almost. Do you reckon this will be enough?
Yeah, I mean, it should be enough. If they don't, then there's some serious problems, I think. Tellez is a very good player. I think whenever he comes on, he really adds that new dimension, especially to that left side. I think he's one of the best crossers of the ball at the club. McTominay, I don't think he's too big of a miss. I think Fred will just come in for him. I don't want to see Matic, to be honest. And I mean, again, Maguire needs a rest, so I don't think it's the big. We're more than capable of nullifying Roberto Soldado's threat with Bailly or Sanjay.
The way you I don't know why that made me laugh, because it's the way you said it. I thought it is fucking Roberto Soldado. Why are we so worried?
I mean, so I feel like people are overreacting a little bit. He's not coming up against prime Messi. Like, get a grip, for Christ's sake. I think it'll be fine. Maguire. Losing Maguire to that yellow card is probably nothing but a positive, to be honest. Granada aren't a great team. United should have battered them really tonight, and we didn't, yet still won the game 2-0. This negativity that I'm seeing all over Twitter, it's just typical football Twitter and United fans Twitter. And there's certain accounts out there that I won't name that seem to just always want us to lose, just so Ollie can get some stick in it.
Temmie. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. Carry on.
Yes, that's what I mean. Like, I don't understand the issue, and I think next week the squad's more than capable. If anything, Shaw's been playing non-stop as well. Obviously, rightly so with his form, but Tellez coming in next week might do good for Tellez's confidence as well. So I just don't see any issues. The performance wasn't great, yet we still won 2-0. So I think people need to stop the gripe and just get on with it and wait for the next game against Tottenham at the weekend.
I can tell you what, I do agree with you in that we've won the game, so people just need to chill out and go, yeah, we've won, sure, it's fine. But there is the point, I saw it in the comments before, I can't remember who said it, but there is a fair point that I agree with, that we come out of these games and we say, it wasn't great, but job done. And the number of times we've said that is probably a little bit worrying. Are you worried that it's not a very sustainable way of playing, and do you think we do need to improve?
No, I don't think it's sustainable at all. Yeah, I get that. But I think, unfortunately, the reason why that is players are fatigued, players are injured, like Rashford, and there's not enough depth in the squad to rotate the players that we need to do. And unfortunately, that's not down to Ollie. That's not down to the players themselves. That's above his head. Ollie clearly has a system that he wants to use. He clearly has players that he wants to use. And I think until more backing comes in the summer and more recruitment, we'll start to see a better rotation. But I've said it before on the channel that I don't think the squad is as good as we made it out to be at one stage of the season. And as we saw now, Rashford's got injured, Martial's now out, Cavani's clearly not reliable. That's 3 attackers that are out, and now we're relying on Dan James, Greenwood and Ahmad. And it does become an issue, and I don't think it's sustainable, but I don't think it's an issue in terms of football. I think it's more of an issue in terms of recruitment, and hopefully that can be rectified in the summer with good additions. And I think, unfortunately, until that happens, we're gonna have this, and I think we just need to sort of crawl our way to the end of the season. I think top 4 is probably in now for us. I think top 2 should now be our aim for the league anyway. And the Europa League is our trophy. I think that would be a good season for us. And next season it's time to kick on. But unfortunately, we can't do that without the right backing in the summer. So I'm not too worried for the boys. It's just I'm more worried for the board to back the manager and back the players, to be honest.
Finally, then I do want to ask you what feels like a big question, but it might not actually be as big as I think it is. You say top 4 seems to be done, which I think it is. God forbid anything ridiculous happens. Top 2 should be our aim. I've said it since January, even when we were top of the league and we slipped off, that we have to make sure second is our position. We cannot slip from there, because it would send such a big message, such a strong message of we've been there all season. Well, not all season, but when we picked up form, we've been there for majority of the season. And then when you said Europa League is our trophy, is it now a case of, because top 4 is done, can we sort of look at the Europa League and go, it's this or bust? Or do you think we need to balance it a little bit? Because for me, top 4 is top 4. And a lot of fans will agree with you on that one. But second place is a little bit of an extra, is it not? Or do you reckon it's just a case of, well, it's just second, it's fine, we've got top 4 regardless. Let's focus on Europa League. What do you think?
No, I don't think it's a case of, we've got top 4, let's focus on the Europa League. I think we can sort of look at it in a way that, Leicester obviously lost last weekend and we won. We gave ourselves that little bit of breathing room in at the top 2, which is why I was a little bit disappointed with the performance tonight, because it really would have been beneficial for us to have just completely sold the tie off and then, solidified our place in the top 2. But I don't think it's top 4 and now focus on the Europa League. The top 2, I mean, unfortunately, and I think I said this a while ago, but we never thought we were going to win the league. And, I know we all joked about things, but we never did, really.
Yeah, who thought that?
I know, yeah. But, I mean, the problem was really, we all got excited and started taking the mickey a little bit. But,
no.
But this is what I mean. Like, it's just annoying because we just dropped off, and it seemed really strange. And I don't think our performances were sustainable even then, to be honest. But getting giddy was just all part and parcel of it. And the thing is, if you'd have told us in August when we'd only signed Donny that we would be even talked about in the top 2 and talked about in the title race, we'd be laughing at you. So the fact that we're even there is credit to Ollie and the players. I don't think we should really have a priority out of the top 4 or the Europa League. I think it'd be nice to win the trophy, of course, but I don't really think we need to prioritise either. A trophy this season and top 3, top 2 would be progress, I feel. And I don't know, I said it weeks ago, but I'd have preferred the FA Cup than the Europa League. I do like the Europa League, but I just think the FA Cup was more prestigious. And I know Joe mentioned that, it seems to be an overrated competition, but it isn't. I was always a stickler for the FA Cup. It was just such an old-fashioned competition that I just loved being in. It was, that thought of Man United playing a minnow team from 7 divisions below. It was just a nice thought, and I love the FA Cup. So I'd have preferred to have won that than the Europa League. I said that many times, but a trophy is a trophy at the end of the day, and we should. There's absolutely no reason why we should not win the Europa League. The teams that are left in it, we should. We all thought, right, we'll beat Granada. And there's absolutely no reason why we can't beat Roma or Ajax. And by the looks of it, Arsenal might be going out. So, we might be looking at Villarreal or something like that in the final. So every single one of those teams with our squad are completely beatable. And to be honest, it'd make us the favourites in each tie. Roma would be the toughest, but I still think we'd be favourites. So we should be looking at not prioritising, because both of those jobs in terms of top 2 and the Europa League should just be, we will do that. There's no reason to prioritise one over the other.
No, 100% agree, mate. Thank you for coming on. It's been absolutely brilliant. We'll show very soon. So everyone go follow Callum, check out his work, and we'll see you very soon. Cheers, mate. Right, that was Callum. Let's wrap the show up then. Tonight was a very important win because it's the first leg of a quarter-final. Let's not forget that. A win is a win. It wasn't a great win, but it was a win. So we'll take it. Good advantage to take into that second leg at Old Trafford. A few suspensions, but I think we'll deal with them pretty fine. As Callum says, it's Roberto fucking Soldado. We shouldn't be too worried. Yeah, that's all it is, really. It wasn't the most exciting game. It's not one I can get really excited about and say something stupid, but hey, we move. We're into the next. Well, we're not into the next round yet. Fucking hell, don't say that yet. We've made the second leg a lot easier for ourselves, so we've got to be positive in that sense. So yeah, we'll take it. That's all you can do. Let's be a bit positive and say let's move on to the next one. Tottenham next. That's going to be a very big game against Mr. Mourinho himself. A bit of revenge as well needed. 6-1. We want to respond after that. Let's not forget. And I'm sure Ollie will be telling them that in his team talk. Anyway, if you've enjoyed the video, please make sure to like it. Make sure to comment what you thought of the game. Make sure to subscribe as well. And of course, I'll see you in the next one. But before I go, you'd think I'd have learned from that tournament that begins with a C. We won't talk about that anymore. And we won't talk about what I said in January. But what we will talk about is that Manchester United have just won 2-0 against Granada. We are almost into the semi-final, which means we are one step closer to being Europa League champions of the world. Say it again. See you in a bit.